everyone, I'm Zuvi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing a book, The Fragile Thread of Hope by Pankaj. It was sent to me for a review and this is going to be a really honest and spoiler-free review. Before getting into the review, let me tell you what this book is all about. So we do get 3 point of views, but there are only 2 protagonists, Soham and Fiona. Both of them have completely different storylines that meet later on in this book, and the whole story is centered around both of their losses and grief and whatever tragedy they went through. Soham had a devastating past revolving around his brother that had kind of ruined his childhood, but he manages to land in a really good job and his life is going pretty smooth. And Fiona, on the other hand, had a really terrible childhood because of her father, and she's lost complete faith in men, and she's bitter and she doesn't really show any emotions. But she manages to find the love of her life, and her life is as good as can be. But tragedy strikes. Of course it does. And both of their lives come crashing down and they are left with nothing but grief to be friends with. You know what I mean. That is pretty much what this story is all about. I will make sure to leave an Amazon and Goodreads link down below if you'd like to check this book out. But without any further ado, let's get on with the actual review. So, I did not like the book. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. When I first started reading the book, I was expecting to like it. I did like the writing style, but just in the beginning. And as I read on, it just dragged and dragged and dragged. The writing style is poetic and it's been described as poetic, and many people have said that in their reviews as well, and I will say it again. The author has described things that didn't need any description whatsoever and has described some things way too much, and there were some things that weren't described as much. It got really exaggerated is what I would like to say. The prose was too dramatic. Then there were some scenes where the setting or just anything was described more than once. There's this scene where one of the protagonists wakes up in a hospital and the author describes the setting through the eyes of the protagonist. Then we get this line in italics that's like the thought of the protagonist, and we read, "Seems like a hospital." And this kind of thing has happened throughout the book. It just doesn't make it look that good. It just makes it seem like the book was written for an audience that wouldn't be able to understand anything unless the author made it blatantly clear to them. And I don't know, not the best thing in my opinion. The prose got really dramatic. Everything was described so intensely, and because of that, when a good or an actual intense scene comes into play, it just doesn't look that intense. Let me read you a few examples. Tears rained down his cheeks, the sorrow wounding her heart. Shanti sat aghast, letting the cruel words sink in. A lump of sorrow swelled in his throat, and then the tears came like salty rain. Now when I say that like this, it doesn't seem bad. It actually sounds good, but when descriptions like that has been used throughout the book, it just loses its importance. The sentences also got very repetitive, the structure. Whenever a chapter would end or a scene would close, the last line of the scene usually had the same sentence structure, like, taking a deep breath, she prepared to leave. Then with hope in her heart, she made her way downstairs. Borrowing hope from Fiona's smile, she closed her eyes in acceptance. The whole writing just got really annoying after some point. I can't be sure that there were grammatical errors, but there definitely were times when I was reading and I'd be like, is that grammatically correct? But I didn't mark any of them, so I can't tell you. But there were many sentences that were executed not very nicely, especially the dialogues. There were really big time skips and that just didn't make the reading any more fun. We follow both of the characters from their childhood to their old age. We never settled down at one point of time, we just kept moving on, and that just didn't hook me onto the story. Maybe many people do like it, but I don't. While I was reading other reviews for this book, I came across many people who said that they liked the characters and that they thought that the characters were really complex. I just don't think so. The characters to me were really boring. All they had to their personality was their grief. Soham, he was good in studies and he now has a good job and he is kind, I think. That's pretty much it. Fiona, on the other hand, she is a stuck up person who just doesn't want to move on from one thing. What happened with her, what happened when she was 6 years old. She was 6 and we don't see any development in her character. So like we read about that and then we directly skip to when she is in school, I believe. And she is literally the exact same as she was. And then we also move on from her teenage life to when she is getting married. And again, she is exactly the same. People change all the time, especially in their younger years. And to see Fiona being exactly the same as she was 10 years ago is just not believable. Same with Soham, like, I don't know, I just didn't see anything significant about both of the characters. Even the side characters that were mentioned in the story did not have a personality at all. Fiona's husband was literally just perfect. He had no flaw. And I personally think that there should have been more side characters than there were. In Soham's job, we only see one person who is like kind of a love interest. That's pretty much it. We only know about her. We don't know about anybody else. Since it is a contemporary novel, it is very much character driven, like most contemporaries are. And the fact that I did not like the characters or like anything about them just made this book a task for me. The story, the whole book was complete. It was just full of sadness, and I'm not saying that I don't enjoy a sad book, but it just wasn't for me, especially since I was not connected to the characters. I did not feel anything while reading the book, and which was, after all, the whole point of the book, is to make the reader feel the feels, you know? And I just did not, so it was just like boring to me. One of the main reasons why I could not invest myself into the story is definitely because there were so many time skips. The fact that we did not settle down and see the characters at one point of time was a really big miss for me. And had that not been done, had we only seen them from their teenage to adulthood, it probably would have been a much more interesting read for me. The story opens with the main tragedy being shown. I personally feel like that the author should not have done that. Why I'm saying that is because we already know that something really tragic is going to happen to them. And having seen that already in the first 2 chapters is like a big takeaway. The author obviously wanted to hook the readers in, but that did not work. At least for me, it did not. When a person starts reading a book, they just don't know anything about the characters. They don't care about them. Seeing something that is like really big and huge for the characters, it does not affect the readers as good as it would had it been shown directly later on in the book. So if it wasn't there in the starting, I probably would have been excited when it does happen later on in the book, you know? Also, the 2 storylines meet after like 3/4 of the book. We get to see them meet when more than half of the book is already over. That was the time when I was the most interested. So if they had met early on in the book, I probably would have liked the book much more than I did. I would like to say that there were moments where I did feel kind of emotional, but not as much as I would like for a book like this to make me. So yeah, I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. The reason why I didn't give this a 1 star is because it's just because it wasn't completely terrible. At least the writing was pretty okay. So that's it for this review of The Fragile Thread of Hope by Pankaj Giri. I hope you liked it and I hope I did not offend anyone. Yeah, life is fun, enjoy, do whatever you want to do, and I hope to see me in my next video. Bye.